You're listening to Achtung Millwall, broadcasting from the beautiful South Birmingham. Accept no substitute.
Welcome, dear listeners. Welcome to the Den on a cool, grey, wet, windy afternoon here in South Bermondsey. You've joined me, of course, for FA Cup action this afternoon, dear listeners. The visit of our Trello Championship promotion rivals, Sheffield United. Lions extension of the pitch along with the Blades. Your Mill side this afternoon sees one or two changes, as we might have expected, for the faded glory of the FA Cup. It is faded. Most of the Den is at least half of it shut down. The Coldblow Lane is shut, the Dockers Upper is shut, only the West End and the lower reaches of the East, and I guess the away supporter are here. Your Mill team, though, I was diverted away from a bit of in-game colour comment there, but Bilkowski stays in goal for this week. You've got backline, familiar backline, Murray Wallace, Sean Hutchinson, Cresswell comes in for Cooper, then Danny Mack. In front of them, I think Honeyman and Saville. The attacking three will be Mason Bennett, good to see him, bad. Shackleton comes in for Fleming, who is rested this afternoon. Vogel, Sammer, and then up front, the ever willing, ever running Mr. Dynamo, Tom Bradshaw. As I said, the FA Cup has a kind of faded glory, but rather like one of these old faded show business stars. It can still give you a bit of pleasure. You might want to build a long-term plan around it, but it's certainly still capable of presenting some of the great moments. They were just running a video before the start of today's game, showing some of the great FA Cup moments in recent Mill history. Dennis Wise, Steve Morrison scoring against Watford in that, and then Sean Cummings in that cup run a few years ago. Everton, of course, Murray Wallace, late. So the Mill historically have a reputation of being a cup side. I think that's a fair comment. We probably to the detriment of our league position at times. Certainly in 2003-04 when we made the cup final, I'd say that we gave up a very good chance of league success in favour of the fleeting glory of cup football. Another question this afternoon for you, dear listener, as both sides go into their respective huddles, is whether who wants a cup run, who doesn't, or don't any of them. We shall see. Mill attacking the away end in accordance with the dictums of the Venerable Bede, 9th century Anglo-Saxon England, jotting it down in the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle. Mill must always attack the Coldblow Lane end in the second half. We better kick us off. It's George Saville. Away we go. Third round of the FA Cup. Once upon a time, it's a big deal. It's a sad thing now to think that it doesn't hold the same kind of grip on the collective imagination, but I include myself in that failing, listeners, because on the show yesterday, speaking to Neil Fissler, I was saying how we can do without a cup run. That's what kind of talk is that from the Mill supporter. I admonished myself afterwards. The early break forward. This is the 29, quite hard to see the numbers. A shot from outside the box over the bar. Thankfully, that's inside the first 30 seconds. Shot for Sheffield United. Curious empty quality around the Den, but maybe some action will liven things up. Both sides will want to avoid injuries, really, listeners, won't they? No one ever wants an injury, but you know what I mean. It's a fixture both could have done without in some ways. I'm going to have to stop talking this game down, listeners. Can't beat the excitement of being in the fourth round draw, though. I must say I'm curiously have mixed emotions about the FA Cup, listeners. I kind of love it and I want it and don't want it. You ever had that feeling? You want it, but you know it's wrong. Sheffield now pressing forwards, ball out wide right. They're second in the table at the moment, along with Burnley. They look like the two sides that are nailed on to get the automatic promotion slots in the table. As they suffer a catastrophic loss of form. There's a shot from the edge of the penalty. That's going to go for a corner, right-sided corner for Sheffield. 3rd minute. In it comes. Deep one, it's headed back across the face of the goal. No danger there, listeners. Come towards 4 minutes. Just been reading on the train coming over it, listeners. Vogel Sam apparently was a target for Fulham previously, and also Millwall at one point. He says it was his dream to play in England from Germany. Never played anywhere else other than Germany. At one point was sought after by Fulham during their championship phase. Here comes Sheffield down the left side, running to Danny Mack there. Apparently Vogelsammer had played in the German national team, under 18, under 16 level, whilst he was in Bielefeld, Arminia Bielefeld. Won the second Bundesliga title in 2020 with them. He does, however, employ the services of a sports psychologist, listeners. Sports psychology. He says, I haven't spoken to her, the psychologist, since I've been in England, but we are always in contact. It's good for my personality, my mental health, and my general health. I have a lot of exercises that I've learned from her. I try to do this at home. The exercises have to do with focus, and I'm good enough, and I'm not bad, stuff like that. I suppose that's visualisation. NPL, is it? Ball into the box there from the left, whilst I waffle away about this psychobabble. NLP, new linguistic. It's going to go into the arms of Bart Belkowski as Sheffield come down there. Rainey's chucking it down there, listeners. So there we are. Good stuff by Andreas Vogelsammer. Strong player. And here is the man himself. He tucks it inside. Tom Bradshaw can't drink it round the defender there. Unfortunately, it's a nice little taken turn from Vogie. Ticking towards 18 minutes. Mill just picking up the second ball a little bit more now. Looking a little bit more purposeful coming forwards. 18 minutes in. The sheet grey sky here, listeners. It is chucking it down with rain out there at the moment. I think it's coming and going. But the sky is sheet grey. They've got the floodlights are kind of what they call it, ice white against the grey of the sky. It's kind of ruggedly beautiful with the old incinerator plant picked out in a pale white light, quite eerie. 21 minutes, halfway through the first half, pretty much. I'd say they've been the team with the most possession. Certainly had the best chance of the game. That shot over. They've got a little bit of pressure going here. Mill haven't really produced anything direct in front of goals so far. He said thus far, listeners. Where we got the word thus from. Sounds a bit antiquated, doesn't it? Right-sided corner. In it comes. It's headed clear by Tom Bradshaw, doing his defensive work. Smell of vinegar on people's chips. It has some kind of an addictive quality that goes beyond the actual delivery. I don't know what you are, where you stand on the whole fish and chips question, listeners. But for me, the promise of fish and chips always far out punches the actual delivery. I'm not that bothered about fish and chips, but the smell is a killer. Here comes Sheffield on the right side, man free on the right. There's 1-0. Ball broke from midfield down the right channel. Finished very, very well. 22 minutes in. Nicely worked goal, in truth. Got to say, it's been coming. I mean, I've not seen anything really to change my opinion that they've been the stronger side in the opening quarter of the game. Mill haven't really created anything at all so far. We've hinted at it, but we haven't done it. Endless walk back now to reform. I was just reading an article, actually, about the proposed IFAB, the international rules body and organisation, wanting to bring in changes like we saw with the World Cup. There's two options in terms of getting the pace of the game up, to do away with the time wasting, game management, whatever way you want to call it. So there's two concepts really. One is what we saw at the World Cup, where you've got loads of time added on at the end of the game. We're talking about, what, 8, 9, 10 minutes in some cases, wasn't there? That's one possibility. The other possibility is that there's the game is reduced to a 60 minutes, but there's an in-game clock running like you see in American sports, you know, basketball, American football, where as the ball leaves play, it's stopped. I think I prefer the idea of what we saw in the World Cup, personally, but I'm not against the 60-minute stop clock approach. For me, anything that stops the whole game management business it's got to be a good thing for the game generally. And we do it too, everyone does it, but that's not to make it right. Anyway, enough lecturing. Here come Millwall, halfway inside their own half, 24 minutes after that setback. Poor ball forwards, in truth, cut out by Sheffield United. Millwall's long punts forwards are not beating the defence at all. This is Mason Bennett chasing the goalkeeper. He's forced an error out of him there, but the long ball forwards is not working, listeners. 25 minutes in. Where do you stand on the whole time wasting business, dear listener? Are you for these initiatives? Do you like them? Do you like game management? Is it okay? I don't know. I hate it personally, but how do you see it? Do let us know in the comments on the Twitter, or just you can email me even. You can anyway. Let me know what you reckon. Debate, I suppose, with a fixed game clock is when does the clock stop? Will it stop for every single moment the ball goes out of play? That would seem slightly over the top for throw-ins and the like, but certainly any moments of where the ball's gone out of behind for a goal kick or something of that kind, where you've got opportunities to take your time. Some of our balls forward today have been very, very poor so far, listeners. 33 minutes. This is Tom Bradshaw, though. Having said that, it was more by luck than design, but we do win some space. That's a poor cross in. Just to, I was just going to undo my own point, and it got made back for me again. There, it was just a poor ball in from the right there. This is Sheffield now on the right side. 35 minutes, ball in on the right. That's 2-0. That's taken a deflection in. Reinforcing the no one can be bothered vibe of the WhatsApp messages, listeners. I'm going to have to see that one again. That was a very strange, took a deflection, looked like it floated in over Bart Bielkowski. Let's have a look. Will they show it? I think a few might well be making for the exits already over in the lower east. 2-0. I don't know if this is half-time beers or if people just had enough, but 36 minutes in, it's certainly been nondescript from the Millwall perspective so far. This is Shackleton now on the left side. I've only paid a tenner for this, listeners, so I suppose I shouldn't be complaining, but it does seem like everyone's on 70% mode out there. Like when your phone goes onto low power mode, you've either got any battery left, that kind of sense. The Sheffield United players getting a bit of digging. If you can't win the game, dig out the opposition. They're digging out down there. Number 2 and the number 10. We'll have to look these up. Don't know who they are. George Baldock and Billy Sharp. A bit of traditional abuse going on there, listeners. Anyway, I'm now wrestling with my own dilemma of saying at the start of today's show and on previous editions of this podcast that we don't need a cup run. Now we're actually in it, it's kind of it's tedious to watch it, and it doesn't seem very Millwall. So I'm wrestling with myself, listeners. This is Mason Bennett on the left side. What can he do? Shines on a mix. But Bradshaw's hit the post. How did he hit the post from there? Got the shot in from the left by Mason Bennett. Falls to Tom Bradshaw inside the 6-yard box. Somehow he manages to chip it onto the base of the post for a left-sided corner. Maybe the goalkeeper got a hand to it. Pushed it onto the post, perhaps. Left-sided corner in that case. Jules Saville's going to take. 43rd minute. That was Mill's closest opportunity, that's for sure. It's over the heads of everybody. Game over, says Graham. I think that if we'd have got a goal there, it might have made a more interesting second half, Graham. But as it is, 2-0 feels a very, very long way back, given that we've looked so run down. Maybe we'll get on to Vogie's sports psychologist. Get a bit of general visualisation going here. I don't know. I might need it, listeners. I might get one. My own personal psychology. Ball forwards as Mason Bennett chase. That's going to be cleared by the goalkeeper. It is. After 50 years, I've become inured to it, listeners. You have too, I bet. How many years have you done? You've become worn down by Millwall. Half time. Millwall 0. Sheffield 2.
Achtung, Millwall.
I've discovered Michael Avery. I was going to go and say hello to Aaron, who's covering the show today, listeners, but I went downstairs to the concourse and it's like the Black Hole of Calcutta down there, so we've got Michael instead. Mike, that was dire. I said before the game that we don't need a cup run, but bloody hell, we're not getting a cup run at the moment, are we?
No, we're not going to at all. And ironically, my boy's got his phone with him, and he sort of said to me, "Oh, I'm going to get my phone out and film a goal." And I was like, "Well, you're going to film it like
that one."
Yeah. There's got to be a shot on target. I don't think we've had a shot on target.
Well, we had the Bradshaw.
The Bradshaw one. Yeah.
I don't know if he must have pushed it on the post.
Yeah. But I mean, apart from that Bradshaw one, we've done nothing. Murray Wallace, his passes were going all over the place.
I mean, that's something that I can't endorse. I mean, we don't want a cup run particularly. We have got a promotion situation going on, but blimey, we really do look off the pace. So that would worry me if I was Gary Rowett, to be honest.
And the thing is as well, I don't know about you, Nick, or how you perceive the game, but it's just effortless for Sheffield United. That goal, their first goal, the way they just knocked it around, it's
effortless. We're not putting in the effort in, are we?
No, not at all. No.
I'm really glad I came, Mike.
Yeah, so am I.
Teams are out for the second half. Listeners, Millwall will be attacking the empty Coldblow Lane end in the second period. Very flat feeling. I mean, I don't know. Just talking to Michael half time. I don't know what the team instructions from Gary Rowett would have been before the game. We all have been saying the same thing about we don't need a cup run, blah blah blah. But that was a very half committed performance in that first half. Fleming's on for the second half, as you may have gathered from the chants around us. Be nice to see something just to lift us a little bit. We have all bothered to come to the football this afternoon. We have all paid reduced prices, £10. So we are hoping to see something entertaining at least during the course of the remaining 45 minutes. I don't think it's too much to ask. Here comes Sheffield down the right side now, ball back across the face of the goal. It's high, falls to the 3 on the left side. 50 minutes on the clock. They're looking by far the more dangerous of the two teams. They've got that 2-goal lead already, and now they're trying to turn on their party pieces in front of our penalty area. Mill struggling generally to get any sense of coherent play at the moment, listeners. It's a pretty poor show by the Lions. They're jinking past our defence like we don't exist, listeners. Cresswell at last there. Sorts the thrust down the right side out. 51st minute. Sheffield still pressing forwards, looking for that third goal that will, if it's not sealed already, that will certainly finish us off. Looks like it's going to be Jake Cooper coming in. It's a strange move given that the game is drifting. Tyler Bury, that makes a bit more sense. Sorry, Essay's coming in. Roman Essay, good to see. For fuck's sake, this is Bart and Cresswell trying to do a bit of possession football there. It is hoofed clear by Cresswell, thankfully. A lovely little death ball by Essay. They're trying to find Saville. That was just unlucky to... Just like a yard too over hit there, but that was a good idea. What do we make of this performance, listeners? I was only half in jest when I wondered what the pre-match instructions from Gary Rowett would have been, that we all know that we can do without a cup run. Is that what they tell a team? I don't know. Is that the kind of unspoken thing that kicks around the dressing room before a performance like this? I don't know, because we've played pretty much on 70% mode. Sheffield United haven't really had to work that hard to be ahead, to be in front. Coming towards 65 minutes, so we're coming towards the halfway point of the second half. As matters stand, we certainly won't be encumbered with a cup run in whatever becomes of our league season. So I suppose is that a good thing? Yeah, it is a good thing, I suppose. Don't know. Rain chucking it down in waves out there now, listeners. 66 minutes. It is pelting down, adding to a general sense of misery. All 2-0 down. Michael's posted this game is so boring that the away fans are chucking a bobble hat around and cheering it. Apparently that's source of excitement in the Sheffield United sections. I can't see them. There's a group of, I don't know if they're German fans over in the far corner waving scarves around in a 70s style. Anything that gets you through the game. Because there's little in the way of compulsive excitement out on the pitch. Just looking at some Twitter comment. The club aren't bothered, says the Griffin. The club aren't bothered. Fans don't seem overly bothered, and the manager and players aren't bothered. That probably sums it up quite nicely, Griffin. We'll have carved out nothing really in the second half, in truth, or in the whole game. That chance springs to mind for Tom Bradshaw, and they hit the post in the first half. It's the Germans are rocking over in the far corner over there. They're really into it. Good luck to them. We were talking about foreigners, not the 70s rock band either, listeners. Foreigners at the Den, weren't we? Neil and I yesterday. Long ball forwards. This is Sharp, number 10. Cleared off the line by Jake Cooper. There it is. Left-sided corner. Probably should have scored that there. Shot from penalty there. No penalty. Shot blocked. 81 minutes. Sheffield claiming for a penalty there. I don't think it was. In the way, just got nudged. Millwall may have dodged a bullet there. Very strange afternoon, in truth. It's been extremely half-hearted. Like no one wants to be here, and the whole thing has been rather pointless. SA looks a good player. Nice sort of take and turn into Evans, who's lost it, as you can appreciate around me, but that was a really nice deft touch inside by SA. Scenes of a biblical nature out there, Michael. Now it's quite been an afternoon of it, mate, isn't it?
Well, this is blimey.
Lightning,
yeah. That's the only brightest thing we've seen on here today. But
I think it's the judgment of the Almighty up there. He wasn't happy with what he's seen this afternoon.
He's probably put money on it, hasn't he?
Blimey, O'Reilly.
This is, yeah.
Poor game.
Yeah, it's bad. And that's another bad miss by Vogelsammer earlier on as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's one
I can't see us building a promotion push with him as leading the Lions.
Do you know what? I hate to say it, but there's a few. I don't normally sit in block 2. I'm here today. Yeah. But there's a couple of them who are giving him a bit of a hard time now. So will he be the next Boo Boy?
Moved on from Tyler.
Yeah. But even you were so like.
Forward is Tyler Bury. Shot wide right now, 89 minutes.
Yeah.
Sums up the afternoon, really.
Yeah, literally. And I mean, just a moment ago with George Evans, we were saying at half-time that lack of effort. Yeah. George Evans, he's come as a sub, so he's one of the fresher players. He's lost the ball and he's not even bothered running back to try and get it, is he?
No, he's not exactly building a link with Harry, is he? You know?
No. There is something that it always seems to happen with cup games, I find. But they always seem to put on these real weird subs, and you think, why put George Evans on? And about a week later, that player moves on to pastures new. Yeah. Could this be George Evans' last hurrah?
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
I can't wait to go home.
No, me neither.
Big shout out to Michael's sister.
Hello.
She's a fan, but we won't tell you what she calls the show by accident.
I think it was Auschwitz Millwall, wasn't it, or something? That'd be a very different kind of show, listeners, if I produced Auschwitz Millwall. We haven't really, we've had a couple of moments where we might have, with a bit more effort, we might have got somewhere close, but overall, very poor show by Millwall.
We've also got to think as well, we were lucky that Billy Sharp didn't score. A couple of years before, if he had that bit of pace that he used to have, he would have scored that. So, and again, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm one of the Millwall fans. I like to sort of chuckle when things go awry for the opposition team as well. But you know, we was all cheering he's missed it. But again, it was like the game against was it Wigan the other week when they blazed over the Rotherham, where he blazed over the bar. You know, it's poor defending and better finishing. We would have been down another.
Absolutely. There is. Millwall 0, Sheffield United. Big thank you, Michael Avery. Big shout out, Michael's sister.
Oh, thank you. Hello.
and thank you for you to listen to what has been a very strange, in truth, afternoon at Den. We'll be back after these messages.
Hello?
Hi Nick, John Rankin here, just ringing in with the post-match report. Absolutely drenched, soaking and cold after a 2-0 defeat at the hands of Sheffield United at the Den in the third round of the FA Cup. First half, pretty abysmal. Rowett kept some key players off the pitch on the subs bench, and it really showed. There was no Fleming, Mitchell, Cooper. I'm afraid our defensive frailties were responsible for both goals, really, and it was one individual. I'm not going to name him, but he's clearly well out of his depth at this level. Sheffield have got very, very good players. I think it's Jebenham who scored the goal, first goal for Sheffield, and he totally had poor old Charlie Cresswell in his pocket. There was a lot of argy-bargy off the ball, and again, it was Sheffield away at Bramall Lane earlier this year, round 2. Anyway, second half started. Fleming came on and made an immediate impact within the first few touches of the ball. He retained the ball in the midfield. His physicality sent a couple of Sheffield players falling to the floor quite legally, and he started to get the ball moving forward. And we were a lot better in the second half. Cooper came on. We created a lot more. Tyler had a wonderful chance to play Vogie in at the closing few minutes, but chose to go for goal himself. I suppose that's his goal hunting instinct's got the better of him, but we did have a few chances. My one bright spot for Millwall is we've made a discovery, and his name is Roman Essay, a beautiful player. Under pressure from some big bullying, and I'll say bullying for the right phrase actually. I'm very pissed off with Sheffield United number 6. I think he's a big professional bully, and I think he tried to stamp Roman Essay at one point. But anyway, Roman Essay dealt with it beautifully. He held the ball up in very pressurised positions, cut inside and distributed the ball beautifully, and there's definitely one for the future there. So, all right, we're out the FA Cup. Who gives a fuck? We're concentrating on the playoffs. I want to see a much better performance against Sheffield United at the Den, though. And I just think it goes to show that when you've got really good class players scattered around the pitch, and you've got a few individuals who aren't at the moment up to the mark with that level of football, good professional teams, whatever sport they play, will just exploit that weakness. And we had our one or two weaknesses exploited mercilessly and ruthlessly in the first half. But anyway, we're going to make our way home now, and let's focus on the league. And come on, you Lions!
Morning, Nick. This is Jim Hackett. The morning after what I watched yesterday, which was, I felt, actually quite embarrassing. Hats off to all those that went to the game, because from the stream that I saw, the atmosphere was flat. The team that came out was, if there was a word that means less than flat, I think I'd use it. I thought it was a first half that was so embarrassing for me. It was Rowett put square pegs in round holes and didn't seem to have G'd them up to put any fight into the game at all for the first half. And I just can't understand how we just go into a game. And as much as everybody says the FA Cup isn't sort of that important to us this season, surely just representing the club in the National Cup competition should be enough to actually put some fight into them players. And it's got to start with the manager. It can't come from anywhere else. He gave him a free hit by saying, that sort of the priority was all about the league, and as much as they'd like to do well in the cup, it wasn't the be all and end all of everything. And I think everybody else took on the same rhetoric that meant that by the time the players went out there, they didn't have to give it their full hit. I thought Hutchinson played excellently. You know, he seemed to be a man alone at the back. I thought Murray Wallace got ripped apart by the young lad from Sheffield United, and Cresswell is a right-footed defender playing on the left side, and he doesn't actually play that well on the right side. So I think it was an accident waiting to happen, and obviously the goals that came in the first half both came sort of through that sort of area. In the middle of the field, I thought Shackleton played quite decently. He was probably the only one of the two central midfielders that could walk away with his head held high. I thought Saville looked a little bit off the pace, and again, maybe the time's coming with him where he feels a little bit more under threat now and can only play in the bigger games. I don't know. But as for the rest of it, Bennett flattered a little bit. Tom Bradshaw wasn't really at the races, and Vogie, I think, as much as he worked hard first half and second half, he really didn't show that much of quality. I think looking at the substitutes that Rout brought on, if they were going to be playing, why not start them and at least give us a foothold in the game that would have got us somewhere? But as it was, bringing them on after the damage was done seems a bit bitty daft if he's not that bothered about the game. It only took one of them to get injured, and it would have caused more problems, I think. But looking overall, if you look at the team, I thought our left-hand side, we had Murray Wallace, Bennett, Bury, anybody else you want to throw in there, Vogelsanger. We are really struggling on that side of the pitch, and it doesn't seem to matter when good teams get at us. That's the side they come down, and that's the side they give us grief with. So maybe during this window, if we can get a striker, hopefully that'll be a start. But I think we do need somebody on the left-hand side. You've got, Malone, who I didn't throw in that little mix there. He seems to be ill or injured all the time now. Bennett is generally injured or gets 60 minutes. Bury can't quite hit the marks just yet. And Murray Wallace, I think anybody can see that if you're a player with a bit of pace, you can get round Murray, quite comfortably, unless he's got a lot of protection. So for me, the day started out as a wait and see where it goes with the cup game. But after the first half, I did feel quite embarrassed, and I don't say that very often, but today was one of those days, more like a pre-season friendly, when we should have been showing a little bit more fight. As for the German supporters making a good fist of it in the corner, good on them. Why shouldn't they come along and at least bring a little bit of life to a club that today really was found wanting? So I'm sorry to be so negative about this, but I feel that everything conspired to make sure we let ourselves down today, and that was from the manager down to the players, and obviously all the comments everywhere. So I'm really sorry about this one, Nick, but let's hope we show some fight for the next one. Okay, bye-bye.
Nick, Matt Richards calling in, driving back after the game. Oh, blimey. I don't know. What is the point of the FA Cup, eh? I don't know. What's the point of going and watching Millwall in the FA Cup? Answers on a postcard, really. It was just, I don't know, really. We weren't up for it. And I think the whole club, really. I mean, us as supporters were going along, and I always want to watch Millwall. When I see Millwall play, I always want them to win. But it was just like a pre-season friendly, really. I think we're still a bit shell-shocked from when we played them early in the season. We sat back. They just walked the ball around us at will. And I don't think we put enough effort in. And it was just really poor, really. Nothing on target in the first half. Sloppy defending. Cresswell was making mistakes. I don't want to just pull out one player, but nobody had a great game. Murray Wallace was being done. Danny Mack didn't have a good game. It was just poor all round, really. There's not much to say about the game. It's just, and in the second half, changed it around. I thought actually we did better at the start of the second half. We had a couple of crosses coming in, one from the right by Danny, and one on the left by Bennett, I think, and Vogelsammer missed them, or didn't get on the end of them, and then he missed a chance. The rain came down. It was just a really poor game. The only kind of thing that brightened it up really was, well, firstly, I managed to meet up with my mate John Husky Rankin before the game, so that was nice. And then during the game, we had the little show in the corner of Block 41 of, I don't know, I think there's some random German fans just having the time of their lives in the rain, watching Millwall lose 2-0. It was all very bizarre, really. So that's it, out of the cup, focus on the stuff which we really worry about, which is the league. So next week, we need to make sure all the players are fit and are actually ready for it next week and ready to fight, because that's what we care about, and I'm sure the players care about that. It's disappointing today because people are paid money today, and so you expect to see effort, but I'm not going to dig them out because I don't know if I care about the FA Cup anymore, really. Anyway, that's it. That's it from me. Cheers, Nick. Come on, your lines.
Achtung, Millwall.
Hello, dear listeners. Welcome to Achtung Millwall, the post-match review. Joining us for this unusual FA Cup match in many respects, an unusual guest. It's our North American correspondent, it's Mr. Joe Chatz. Welcome to the show, Joe.
Oh, Nick, thank you so much for having me. Truly an honor. Happy to hopefully talk a little bit of, I'm going to do my best to not say soccer, but it's going to happen a couple times.
You can say soccer, I don't care.
I do, though. It matters. It's football. We've got it. It was a terrible day today. I apologize to anybody who was there. I was dry in my house, having a great time. House. I can't afford a house. Apartment. But, it was fabulous. Thank you for having me. Truly, truly a pleasure.
No, great to have you on, mate. This was a strange game, Joe. Going into the match today, I said on a couple of editions of the podcast that we could do without a cup run. Our focus is on the championship. Our focus is on finishing in the top six, in the top, the playoff four, as I call them. So that's one thing, and we certainly delivered on not having a cup run, Joe, didn't we? Because that was ridiculous. A more half-hearted performance from a Millwall 11 that should have been. I think they're always going to be on the second best to Sheffield United, very decent side. But my word, that was weak and beige and like an old cup of tepid tea that's gone a little bit off the temperature, listeners.
It was ugly, and it was ugly early. In Jaye, who I think we need to talk about. I mean, you have a Senegalese guy, the guy to replace Sadio Mane on a World Cup squad, and he has his first chance 30 seconds into the game. And I'm like, okay, well, this is going to be a day if this is already happening when we know it's going to be him. So that was my first thought from the start. But in terms of just kind of how the 11 worked and how the team worked and how the lineup went, I was kind of thrown off by Mason Bennett getting the start just over Zion. Because if you're down 2-0 and you're not going to take it that seriously, you can give Zion 60 minutes and then they could have, taken him off. But just from the start, I'm just looking at my notes and everything is Ndiaye getting around people. You had the long throws. Tommy Doyle had a chance 12 minutes in, and it just wasn't crisp anywhere. You'd think with Hutch starting, that's always, the thing that brings us together in the back line. And it just wasn't there today. And it's unfortunate. If we want to have the positive outlook now with hindsight, I was thinking today the worst possible outcome was a match replay, because going to Sheffield,
no one would have wanted
the worst outcome. So at least we avoided that. But in terms of confidence, after a good week, a good couple weeks in form in the league, 4 unbeaten, having a week off, this just leaves a poor taste in your mouth. And
it does.
I wrote this a little earlier and I pointed it out. 2 shots on target for us in the 2 matches we've played total against Sheffield. And they're coming back to the Den in a month and 11 days. I'm scared because this was just kind of what we expected from Millwall when Jed was out last year, when it was the Rowett ball, maybe a shot on target a half. And it's just, we haven't seen that for a few months. And today was
so
disheartening.
wishy-washy, Joe. It was so wishy-washy.
Wishy-washy's nice. to put it.
Yeah, I don't know what to say of it really. I mean, I'd would love to be a fly on the wall of the dressing room pre-match anyway. But today, I would love to know what Gary Rowett would say to the team, because clearly we don't want a cup run. We can do without the fixture pile-up. We can do without the squad. I think if it showed to anything today, it showed that once you get past our first choice 11, when they're really on form, when they're on it, we look quite scratchy quite quickly, don't we? So take Fleming, take Zian out, and there's very little, if any, creativity. There's plenty of effort, although that was a bit I questioned some of that today as well, because I wonder what his pre-match speech was there, Joe. Is it like, don't just pull your tackles, don't get injured, don't rush around too much.
That's when you get injured, right? It's always when you don't go 100%. I think this squad, which I was looking, it's a lot of the same guys who played back in August against Sheffield, or September. I'm forgetting exactly what it was, but it was a lot of the same guys, and it seems like they were intimidated by a former side that was in the Premier League. It just, nothing about it looked good. The first goal, I don't know how I feel. You were saying I was accurate about Cresswell. He had a poor day, to put it kindly. And I want that kid to thrive, because he gave us that jolt we needed in August when nothing was going well. And he just really, those two mistakes in the first half that lead to goals. I watched the replay afterwards for the first goal, and it seems like Murray Wallace was also about a half step behind, and Jebison was able to get between the two of them. Having said that, one of them should have taken the tactical foul there. I think based on the angle, it would have been incredibly harsh at home to have seen a red that early. And it's Daniel Jebison. It's not like someone anybody cares about nationally. I don't think he would have gotten the red card called for that tackle. And I really wish we'd seen that there. And then the second goal, I mean, one-on-one against, again, N'Jai, a guy who's good enough to replace Sadio Mane. That man, you don't go for two tackles. You just want to keep him in front of you. You just want to ensure that he doesn't wreak havoc. And that second goal, he made that pass to Bogle, takes a terrible bounce, and Bart has nothing he can do about it. And, it stinks for him. Had a tough bounce back after the first win, but he's doing all right. And it was just tough to watch for Cresswell. I want these Leeds guys. I've got my American biases, so we like Jesse Marsh in this house as long as Leeds aren't.
I could hear your American biases, Joe.
Yes, I love it. No, he played in Chicago when I was younger, and everybody who I've worked with has spoken about him. It's like he's a nice man, and I like his energy. If he were our coach, I'd love it for a million reasons. But Shackleton and Cresswell, it almost seems like Shackleton needed Ballard's Blackpool year. In League One, and Shackleton to me is looking more and more like a League One player, and it stinks.
He certainly wasn't on it today.
No, he's another one of these guys. They're being a little too hesitant physically. Take the yellows; they were a little too off today, and we needed a little edge.
Yeah, very strange. It was a strange affair. I'm trying to put myself in Gary Rowett's shoes to understand the starting 11. Now, I guess what you can't do in the FA Cup, you can't deliberately pick an obviously weakened side. You have to at least pay some lip service to trying to win the game. So that's so he's picked it. He's got to at least look like he's trying to win it, even though maybe privately he doesn't want to get into the fourth round, which, but then I don't know, the substitutions made little sense to me. I mean, if we're really not bothered about it, Joe, why are we risking Zian Fleming in a game that's clearly we're 2-0 down? We should have been 3 down. If we've written it off, write it off, at least put your hand up and say, okay, we're out of this,
Let me ask you this question. Have Gary Rowett's subs really ever made sense to you? Even when things are going well? And,
it's an area of criticism that I would certainly, I'd agree with that stance, that question, because you can, No is the answer to that. It's I'm trying to find a diplomatic way to put it here, but no. I mean, today made little sense to me because you know, you don't if you're not risking your main pieces, then don't risk them. Don't put them on the pitch. Don't play them.
It was bizarre to see. I didn't love the starting 11. I wish we'd thrown some of the younger guys out there. I think Yuri could have thrown 60 minutes out there. You know, when he's on and he can hold up play, we needed that guy.
Yeah.
Bradshaw wasn't doing it. Mason Bennett did okay, but, you know, him still returning to form, I really only care about him being able to play in the league at this point. If he can play 30 minutes off the bench, I'm thrilled. But yeah, I'm looking at the 11 today. This is where obviously you wish you had a little bit more depth at certain positions. You wish you had another. It's like you wish you had Alex Mitchell to play defender today, just because you're not going to start George Evans, right? So you need
Harry will be having an absolute fit somewhere in Essex at the moment at the sight of George Evans coming out onto the pitch.
Possibly. Probably.
I'm just reading this fantastic blog, listeners, by Joe Chatz. Actually, I'm just reading it. I'm speculating whether that was the last appearance in a Millwall shirt for George Evans. He did look sluggish, Joe, didn't he? When
he's not
amongst a group of players that looked a bit iffy.
And the weather will do that to you. But that's when you'd think a guy like him who can make those cross-field passes. When George Evans is at his best, right? A few years ago, apparently, I've never
it's a rare sight. Yeah, if you've seen that,
it's as rare as Ryan Leonard being healthy, right? Where was he today?
He was warming up in front of us.
Oh my God, how was he smiling? I hope.
I hope he was. Yeah,
he deserves it. I mean, the luck of that man. And I'm still thinking. I forget which match that one tackle he had, goal-saving tackle. Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
But no, Rowett's lineup. It never seems to make sense. I loved Romain Esse.
Yeah, I saw that. You made him man of the match.
He was fine. He was the only person I could say he didn't really do anything poorly. You know. So I'm just like, let's throw somebody in there who didn't bother me. It was Romain Esse. Now, there was the tackle he had from behind in the box. And every replay I saw, that is not going to be a penalty. You don't want it called for you. You don't want it called against you. Yeah. So that tackle alone, I was like, you know what? Good on you. He gave the effort in the 30 minutes when it seemed like the energy was lacking a little bit. And that's all you could ask for from one of the young guys in this time.
I thought he looked very neat. There's clearly a player in there, Joe. You know, he's a young boy.
Yes.
I thought he showed one or two touches, one or two passes into spaces where you think, yes, that kid's got it. He knows what he wants to do. Very interesting player. A long way to go for him.
Yes.
We missed two screamer chances. I think Bradshaw hit the post in the first half down in front of me.
It looked like there was a little tip there too from the keeper.
Because they gave a corner after that. I think he must have tipped it onto the post.
Yeah, it was a great feed from Mason Bennett. That was his real play of the game early on, and then the Vogelsammer one drove me nuts.
Yeah, he should have scored that.
He should have scored. So with the replay, I had the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
So if he went far post. There was no way, unless he goes outside of his foot, there was no angle for it, and there was no angle for a deflection. If he goes near post, even at the keeper with his rocket, we know he's got probably the strongest leg on the team.
A very strong shot. He's been very unlucky this season.
Yeah. Exactly. He's going to create chaos, and that touch could have done a lot, and it would have been nice to see, and everyone in the crowd deserved it. For suffering through that,
we were in need of some entertainment, Joe. I mean, it's very strange.
I did have a question about the seating. Were the Millwall supporters in the rain, or were you guys covered?
I was all right. I sit in a place called Birdshit Corner, which is right up in the back of the stand where the pigeons live.
That's what my friends call my apartment.
Birdshit Corner. I mean, the upper tiers are okay because you got the roof, but if you're in the lower tiers, then you're going to be exposed to the elements. And
because I was
they had the West Stand open today. I think that was fully open. I think there were guys in the West. They were down in front of me. The cold blow lane was entirely shut, and the upper decks of the the east was shut. But the lower was certainly in the rain. Yeah, that would have been harsh afternoon. Nothing to entertain you. And
no,
then
and the Sheffield fans near you who were dry.
Yeah, well, I was all right. So
good.
I don't know if that's any consolation to those fans in the lower east, but I was all right. So that was that. That's the FA Cup run done, Joe.
Good.
Focus on
that was it.
I mean, we've made the point already. It does strike me. We've clearly got January, the transfer window and opportunities. Once you get past our first choice 11, Joe, once you get below the surface, we just don't have any depth, mate, do we? There's not enough. It's
always going to be the issue.
Yeah.
But then so that was kind of where I was having some fun today. So, this is where it'll be on. I love the rumor of new American buyers in Millwall. I think American football investor has to be like the most popular search term nowadays. Like that'll just get you so many clicks on your story. So I was reading that this morning, and
I think it's since the pound went parity with the dollar. I think we've become very attractive.
Well, and the MLS buy-in is stupid at this point. In America, there's just no reason. That is an entirely different podcast for a different day. But this is going to be a time where we're going to have to see Barrelson either pay up for a young guy, or there are a lot of players on 6-month expiring contracts that we could loan out for. I'm thinking a lot of these lower Premier League clubs. If there's anybody we can get at Forest at a discount rate, I don't love Lyle Taylor, but it would be something. These guys on expiring contracts, I'm looking at teams that kind of jumped up a little quickly and have still that influx of talent that you could get.
We need somehow to induce some danger in front of goal, because at the moment we just don't. And I love Tom Bradshaw to bits. I like Vogelsammer. I love the work rate. I love the kind of general the vibe that you get from those players, but. Are they dangerous in front of goal, Joe? No, they're not. Dangerous strikers are gold dust, aren't they? I mean, everyone's looking for that.
Of course.
Not easy to find.
But how much did you want Matt Smith a couple of weeks ago when he had the hat trick for Salford and a half?
I love Matt Smith. Always love Matt Smith.
Who doesn't? He's
the presence in front of goal.
Exactly. He can't do anything else, but it's something, and we've lacked that, and it's tough.
Yeah, it's going to be an intriguing few weeks. I saw the report. You mentioned it already. The I don't know which newspaper it was over here, but they mentioned these mysterious American buyers who then bought John Barrelson's valuation. He apparently spent 100 million quid on the Lions ever since he's arrived, and he's so the report says. I don't know. It wasn't from the Times, so I don't know if it's some disreputable newspaper that speculates. But they were saying that the buyers bulk 80 million, which I don't know where they get these figures from, but who knows? I mean, John's been around a long time. He's been a great owner.
He loves the sport.
Yeah. And I think he generally loves Millwall as well. I think
it's remarkable because So I've been, ever since I became a supporter, I was trying to figure out: do I know this guy? Can I find an American connection to find my way in? How can I get on the pitch during a game? And so his whole thing is at Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island. Right. Everything at the intercollegiate level, all of their soccer stuff, all has the Barrelson name on it. So. Right. That is kind of one thing I've noticed from him in the United States, is that the money is spent at least on, structural things that last.
Yeah.
But I'm curious kind of how the investments go with that, because there's tax benefits to doing that in the United States.
Of course.
But then when we're talking converting money to the UK, I know a couple years ago they had the family had a lawsuit about something with one of their houses. So it's always interesting when they can come up with cash. And this is a time where, we've seen the bad things of coming up with cash when you're coming up as a team. With Nottingham Forest, I think, is a great example of spending everything too quickly. I think if they had been a little bit more, I mean, what a terrible day for them. I'm not sure if you managed to see.
Yeah, they lost. Was it 4-1? 4-1 at Blackburn?
1 in the last goal, or their goal was in the second minute of second half stoppage time.
Wow.
It was horrible. But they've spent too much money, and then their roster didn't work out, and now they have an influx of players with that don't really fit together, and now they can't spend money. So if they've been patient, you can do that. Millwall, you've got a couple pieces away, and God save us if we make it to the Premier League. It would be the greatest thing ever. But you could suffer with a game of Cooper. He's going to make his mistakes, sure. But alongside some better players, you never know. Why is Cooper playing? Oh, well, you see him on set pieces, right? So I don't know. I'm excited. I don't know where these players are going to come from. This is where Gary Rowett needs to rely on his relationships around the game. And he keeps on saying, who's this Alex guy? He keeps on saying, or Andy.
Alex Aldrich is our recruit head honcho.
He better not be the only one.
Have you ever been to Millwall, Joe? He probably is. He probably does the tea as well.
I've tried to deal with it. I love Sean up at the Millwall store. Whoo, you guys kill me. I've dealt with you guys. No.
I mean, it's a crucial few weeks. The next big game is obviously now next week. We're away at Middlesbrough. We desperately need to get some presence up front. At the moment,
that's a chance.
Too lightweight for me, but we'll see.
Well, we should beat Boro. It's their keeper, the American Zach Steffen. It happens. If you just get shots on goal, he will allow a dumb rebound. It's why he wasn't in the U.S. men's national team. That's why Ethan Horvath got on the team over him. He allows too many rebounds. So this is the game of where Rowett needs to be like, guys, everything I've told you to do offensively before, don't listen to me. Do everything opposite of Rowett ball, and we'll figure it out.
In fairness to the signings we've made, I mean, obviously I'm thinking of Fleming, Zien, and Andreas Vogelsammer. And to some extent the loans. I mean, the recruitment has been pretty good by Millwall standards. We've had a few duds in the past.
Can I take credit for the Vogelsammer one on an American perspective?
Yeah, go.
Jordan Pefok. He replaced him in the Union Berlin lineup. Jordan Pefok, number 45, American. So then we get Vogelsammer. So I think that's, of course, how it works. So again, Americans helping out Millwall. That's just wanted to point it out.
Slightly like I remember when John Barrelson first came to us back in 2007, I think it was 2006 possibly. I wrote a thing for one of the websites describing his presence as like the US cavalry coming around a corner in an old western, because I don't think there was anyone else at the time. And anyway, he's been a great
good
steward of the club ever since. So long may he continue.
He would
the new ownership. I don't know the strength of that story.
I don't know. I hope it's not true. It's not fun.
Now I can't let you go, Joe, because people are going to be saying, "Who's this bloke?" How does this native of Chicago come to be a Millwall fan? You got to tell us a little bit about yourself and how you come to follow the Lions, mate. So I can see on your wall behind you, you've got a Den plaque.
I got a little bit of a Den plaque. It's fun when you have friends over and you call your place the Den, and then you have to explain it further, and then be like, well, it's actually the new Den. Well, this is then the newer Den, and we're trying to get a newer Den, but that's a whole different discussion. So I admittedly was not the biggest soccer football fan growing up. United States, we have our struggles. Until recently, it wasn't really easy to get on broadcast television. And the Chicago teams, for better or for worse, the women's team, the Red Stars, they've been great, but they largely play outside of the city. And then until recently, the Chicago Fire, where guys like Jesse Marsh had played, no one particularly. Slonina, the new keeper for Chelsea, who maybe we can get him on loan in the future. That would be kind of nice. I don't know if he can handle the Den, though.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, he, his social media has gotten funny in the last month. But so I hadn't been the biggest soccer fan. I kind of had gotten into it just kind of on the, I'm a big sports fan, love everything. Baseball was great.
It looks at your bio,
yeah. Baseball is one of my favorites, but it's boring as all hell. If you're I don't know if anyone's trying to go to that Cubs Cardinals game when it's in London.
Save that up we're going to save baseball up for another podcast, but we'll do that as a separate thing. I'll come back to you
because I have a whole separate thing of advice. But either way, so I was just kind of moving on from not moving on, but finding some other soccer teams. I'd worked for a team in New York, and then I'm studying in 2018 at Queen Mary in London. East London, Central Line over there with my mate Jake. And Jake and I on a Saturday needed something to do and a fun thing. I'm a sports freak, and I'd never been to an English football match, any of it. And we were thinking we were going to go to Watford. And then I looked it up on a map. And so we're in East London trying to go on the tube to Watford. Not a good idea.
No, it's a long way.
No.
It's a fair old track, yeah.
And then my buddy, he's like, well, let's see this Millwall thing. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then he sends me the video or the London bomb thwarting story.
Oh, yeah.
And so that was enough for me to be like, oh, yeah, let's go. All right, let's try this out. So I made sure I had the match report up. So this was on Saturday, October 6th, 2018, when we were playing Aston Villa against Jack Grealish and Tammy Abraham. So a top team, really good. Grealish was a name I'd known because everyone knows those Cavs. You know, my God, different discussion for a different day. But so we show up, great atmosphere, everyone's screaming all this, and I just, you know, I've been a bit of a counterculture person to a point in my life. But I get in the den, you know, let them come, goes on, all that. And then the No One Likes Us legitimately captured me. And for a solid 5 minutes, I'm like, okay, where am I? You know, really processing this. I've been to hundreds of sporting events in my life. I grew up a fan of not Michael Jordan's Bulls, the ones after them that were way worse. So grew up rooting for them. I've been there. I've seen the Chicago Bears make it to the Super Bowl. Nothing compared to the passion that you could feel over nothing really happening. You know, when you just hear at a visitor's throw-in, was just infatuating to me. I'm turning around, like, thank God I didn't like take a picture before the game, because someone in the row ahead of us took a picture. And they were getting just screamed at by, oh, you tourists, yada, 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 and all this. And I'm like, Jake, we're not taking a picture. Cool. Sorry, families who care what we're doing on a Saturday. Not happening. And then Tammy Abraham scores. Everyone just goes absolutely boo, boo. And it's like, well, this guy's fabulous. What can we do if you're going to give up a goal, whatever. And then we score right before half. And just the energy from that goal, and it's a Fergie goal, so I proceeded to spend the next year screaming Fergie, because for us it's the music artist, right?
All right, I get it.
So for me and my buddy Jake, we'd scream like Fergie at each other in campus in Ohio, where we went to school normally, and people would be so thrown off.
This is a very strange conversation for me.
Of course. Hey, you know what? It's only going to get worse. I mean, there's so much. And then, I'm about to bring up Tom Elliott. Here we go.
Tom Elliott, of course.
He, right after halftime, scores the match winner, 48 minutes. Neil Harris's side goes home. And it's funny because I was thinking about that match and I'm like, wow, we really just kind of played it direct to Elliott and then direct to Morrison. And then as I started following the team more, I'm like, oh my God, that's what we always do.
That's it.
Oh, and to think of Tom Elliott positively was remarkable. But that was my first day at the Den. And then, you know, I was there until the end of December 2018. I think I went to 6 more matches.
Right.
My birthday, my parents were in town because it was around Thanksgiving, you know, that holiday that's useless that we celebrate. Don't have to work for 5 days. It's great. So we went, it was against Bolton. It was a 1-1 draw, nothing. But the idea of being able to get 25 to 28 pound tickets the day of front row, I was like, Dad, you won't believe where these tickets are. And then he sits down, we do that. And, you know, you see, he's like, oh, we're getting beers. I'm like, we can't have beers in the stadium.
Can't have beers. No, that's illegal.
that's foreign to us, you know. That's part of the experience. 15. You guys think your beer price is expensive. Hoo-wee, come to America. And so it became that kind of fandom. And then when I come back to the United States that year, the ESPN Plus streaming service has every championship game on its broadcast.
So you see it fairly regularly. Well, you see it. On
so that year, they had every game for every team.
Right.
Then the next year, it becomes just the Sky Games. So then I get into Carl and Max on Millwall TV, and that's when it really comes into it. But between that and another bad FA Cup memory, the Brighton loss.
Two each.
The pain I felt that day. I'm driving back to school. It's about a 6-hour drive from Chicago to Ohio, where I was in school. And I was with the nicest kid in my car who could not give less of a shit about sports, excuse me. But super sweet, boring. He wants to listen to true crime. I'm like, no, I'm going to have this game on my phone dangerously while I'm driving. So it goes to, we're up, and the David Marshall things happens.
Yeah.
And I had to then pull us over. I'm like, we need to go get lunch. I can't drive while this is going on. And then we go to PK. So we're at a Subway in Nowheresville, Indiana, a place I hope you never have to be. And I watched that there. And that really, the pain I felt, it's the pain I feel watching the Chicago Bears, the football team. They just constantly just
screw it up.
Oh, just the pain in my back. And that match, that really solidified it. Then the rest of the year, you get all those other games. We're doing well, Then we make the transition from Neil to Rowett, seeing that change. Barry stays on, and it's evolved with me. And I need it. I am obsessed now. It's fabulous. My professors in graduate school learned what Millwall was. Like, everyone now knows what this is, and it matters. Everyone in the States, we get Premier League games. They all want to do that. I can't stand, when you join the fun big clubs or whatever. Have some fun. And this was a unique opportunity. And it threw itself into me. And I love it. This team is fabulous. It's great. And we've been able to watch the evolution. I'm curious, how have you felt about the evolution of Tom Bradshaw? This came through me earlier.
Well, he's been on a long journey, because he came to us. I think it was in 2018. I think he signed from Barnsley, if memory serves. Neil Harris signed him, didn't he?
Well,
and he came to us with a reputation for being a good finisher, like a dangerous striker. Then he got injured.
Yes.
And he was out for a long while. And since he's made his comeback, he's kind of not relaunched himself exactly, but I wouldn't describe him as a great finisher, but he's a workhorse like I've never seen. He reminds me of Jimmy Abdou in the sense of never ever stop running. Which is, I think he replaces innate skill, talent, perhaps, with a willingness to run and run. It's a great skill to have at Millwall, a great trait to have at Millwall, I should say.
It is, and the one thing I'm curious about, remember when he used to dive a lot? Allegedly. In his first few years with us, I think it was 2 years ago, right before his last injury, he got a penalty called on one of those. Right. And on replay, we see it, and we're like, oh, he's never going to get another call.
He's gone down easily there.
He's gone down. And then the next 4 or 5 months, I'm like, if you just stayed up, you might have gotten the call. And then after he came back last year from his injury, it has been remarkable. He seems like a different guy. Like, he's stronger under himself, almost. Like, he's playing bigger.
Yeah, clearly they must work on, state the obvious, Nick. But they must work on their game, mustn't they, in training? And I've never seen him as a striker who's innately dangerous in the box. He's okay, but he's certainly gone from the initial expectation of being a sharp finisher into someone that will just give you everything every game. And it's, I take my hat off to him, because I don't know where he gets the energy from.
Neither do I. And it's what I love about him. You love that player, though. It's fabulous. Those matches where it seemed there was nothing when Jed was here, when he would be running down at the end.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's invigorating. And I think it's part of the frustration with Bury, right? Is that we don't necessarily always see that out of him.
Bury's got more talent in his little finger than many players will ever have. But it's the work part, Joe. That's where you gotta. You're not gonna. You can't come to the Den and expect one run in a blue moon to sustain you. It's not that kind of club. You've got to give it all every single time. So,
Sorry for looking away. I just saw the Wrexham beat Coventry, and now I'm going to have to answer a lot of texts.
You are very. I'm going to close the conversation, Joe. I'm going to tell you, you're a very eccentric man, and I like that.
I appreciate it.
This is a show for eccentric people. So I'm going to say thank you to Joe. I've got to go and get my own stuff sorted out now. So thank you for coming. Thanks for coming on the show, Joe.
My pleasure.
Be great to do this again sometime. We will talk about some baseball when the season starts.
Oh, if you want to. I got 5 minutes. We'll limit it at 5 minutes.
Big thank you, Joe Chatz, all the way from Chicago, Illinois.
You nailed it. Nailed it.
I always wanted to say that.
Thank you for not saying Illinois.
Achtung, Millwall.